India during the Maurya period. Introduction.
Uncle, my friend Cyrus told me that long ago there was a king whose name was also Cyrus. Is that true? Was there such a king in the past?
Oh yes,
Really? Okay, but uncle, he was from which place? How was he? Can you tell me more about him?
okay. I will give you information about the king Cyrus. During the 6th century BCE, Cyrus was the king of Iran. He created a vast empire. His empire extended from the northwest part of India to Rome in Europe and Egypt in Africa.
Uncle, now I know about the King Cyrus. But what happened after the reign of King Cyrus? Did any powerful king ascend the throne after Cyrus?
Yes, of course. Around Daryus used to rule Iran. He conquered the region from Gandhar and Sindh to the northwest of India up to Punjab. From the writings of the Greek historians, it is understood that King Daryus had recruited some of the soldiers from the conquered regions into his army. During the reign of King Daryus, political relations were established between Iran and India. This gave impetus to the exchanges in the fields of trade and art. Emperor Daryus issued a common currency called Darik in his empire. Because of the use of common currency, the trading became easier. The capital city of Persepolis was built during the tenure of Emperor Daryus. It is located in the present-day Iran. The powerful Iranian Empire, which was established by the Emperor Cyrus and Daryus, was overthrown by the Greek Emperor Alexander, who is also known as Sikandar. In the later period, while on a campaign for expansion of his empire, Alexander turned his attention towards India. Let us learn more about the invasions of Emperor Alexander. The Greek Emperor Alexander's invasion. In 326 BCE, Greek Emperor Alexander, with his huge army, invaded the northwestern frontier province of India. After crossing the river Indus, Alexander reached Takshashila. On the way, some local Indian kings gave him a tough opposition. In spite of this, Alexander succeeded in marching up to Punjab. However, during the invasion, Alexander's army had to suffer innumerable hardships and face severe opposition from the Indian army. The Alexander's army had travelled far from their motherland. They developed a strong urge to return to their homeland. Due to the revolt by the army and the increasing uprising from the conquered regions, Alexander was forced to turn back. Alexander appointed Greek officers to govern the conquered territories. These officers were called satraps. Alexander started his return after handing over the responsibility of the conquered Indian territories to his officers. On his way back, Alexander died at Babylon in 323 BCE. The city of Babylon is located in present-day Iraq. The invasion of Alexander gave an impediment to trade between India and Western world. Some historians had also accompanied Alexander. Through their writings, these Greek historians introduced India to the Western world. Also, the Greek style of sculpture had an impact on the Indian art. This gave rise to a novel art style called Gandhara school of art. The coins of the Greek kings were made in a very characteristic way. One side of the coin had the picture and the name of the king who had minted the coin, and the other side had the picture of a Greek god. The coins minted by Alexander were also similar to these. The Indians borrowed the idea of making such coins from the Greeks. Later, the Indian kings also began issuing such coins. In this way, the grip of the foreign powers on India loosened and the period of powerful Maurya Empire began. The Maurya period is especially important in the history of India, because during this period, an empire under one sovereign was established in India, resulting in a stable administration.
Uncle, I'm very curious to know about the Maurya Empire. Can you give me the information about it?
Oh, good. So now let us learn about the Maurya Empire. Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya. The Maurya Empire. Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya founded the Maurya Empire. The subjects were tired of the oppressive rule of the Magadha king Dhanananda. Around 325 BCE, Chandragupta overthrew King Dhanananda to end the rule of Nanda dynasty and established his own rule in Magadha. He conquered Avanti in Madhya Pradesh and Saurashtra in the west and started expanding his empire. Patliputra, that is present-day Patna in Bihar, was his capital. A Sanskrit playwright, Vishakhadatta, wrote a play called Mudra Rakshasa. It is the plot of how Chandragupta Maurya established independent rule after defeating King Dhananand. It gives special importance to the contribution of Arya Chanakya or Kautilya during the reign of Chandragupta Maurya. This play, which is based on the important incident of Chandragupta Maurya's life, is a valuable historical literature. After the death of Alexander, the struggle for power started between the satraps appointed by him. They fought among themselves. Seleucus Nicator was the Alexander's general. After Alexander's death, he became the king of Babylon. He invaded the northwest frontier regions of India as well as Punjab. Chandragupta Maurya successfully resisted his attack. The defeat of Seleucus Nicator by Chandragupta Maurya brought the regions of Kabul, Kandahar and Herat under the Maurya Empire. Seleucus Nicator had sent his ambassador Megasthenes in Chandragupta's court. Megasthenes has written an account of contemporary India in his book Indica. This book Indica is an important source for the study of India during Maurya period. Also, an inscription has been found which mentions that Emperor Chandragupta Maurya had constructed a dam called Sudarshan near Junagadh in the Gujarat state. As per Jain tradition, it is believed that Chandragupta Maurya embraced the Jain religion. Towards the end of his life, Chandragupta renounced the throne. He spent the last days of his life at Shravan Belagola in Karnataka, and he died at that place. Emperor Ashoka. After Chandragupta Maurya renounced the throne, his son Bindusara inherited the throne. After Bindusara, his son Ashoka became the king in 273 BCE. Before inheriting the throne, Ashoka was appointed as the governor of Takshashila and Ujjaini. As the governor, Ashoka had successfully crushed the revolt at Takshashila. After ascending the throne of Magadha, Ashoka invaded Kalinga. It can be said that the extent of the state of Kalinga was in the present-day Odisha state. The state of Kalinga was conquered by Emperor Ashoka. The empire of Emperor Ashoka extended from Afghanistan in the northwest and Nepal in the north to Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh in the south, and from Bengal in the east to Saurashtra in the west. The Kalinga War. Emperor Ashoka fought the war of Kalinga in order to expand his empire. Kalinga War. But after witnessing the terrible bloodshed in the war, he decided not to fight a war again. He was convinced that love is greater than war. According to him, the values like truth, non-violence, compassion, and forgiveness were important. In order to spread his message among the people, Emperor Ashoka engraved stone inscriptions and pillar edicts everywhere in his kingdom. The Brahmi script was used for these writings. In these inscriptions, he is referred as Devanampiyo Piyadasi, which means beloved of the gods, and he who looks on with affection. Also in one inscription it is mentioned that after the coronation, Emperor Ashoka conquered Kalinga, and after witnessing the devastation of the war, he had a change of heart. The inscriptions at Delhi Topra states Emperor Ashoka had put strict restrictions on the hunting of bats, monkeys, rhinoceros, and setting forest fires. He laid emphasis on good conduct. It is good to serve and respect one's parents. The victory that arouses compassion and love is the real victory. These messages which he gave guide us even in today's life. The inscriptions and pillar edicts with messages of Emperor Ashoka are dispersed around many places in India. Let us see these inscriptions and edicts with the help of the map of India. Ashoka's work for the spread of religion. Emperor Ashoka had embraced Buddhism. He had convened the Third Religious Council on Buddhism at Patliputra to deliberate over the principles of Buddhism. To spread Buddhism, he sent his son Mahendra and daughter Sanghamitra to Sri Lanka. He also sent Bauddha bhikkhus outside India, such as countries of Southeast Asia and Central Asia. Emperor Ashoka also built many stupas and viharas. Public welfare activities. Emperor Ashoka, who believed in thinking and conduct, carried out many welfare activities for his subjects. He started medical treatment facilities so that people as well as animals could receive free medication. He built many roads. He constructed dharmashalas for the convenience of the travellers. He planted trees on both the sides of the road for shade. He also dug wells. The kings of ancient India, like Emperor Ashoka, did work for the welfare of their subjects and thus created an ideal for the future generations. Even today, the legacy of doing such welfare activities has been carried forward by many institutions in our society. These institutions around us are engaged in activities of various types and subjects. Some of the government as well as non-governmental organizations are also engaged in the social welfare activities. By carrying out welfare activities in the fields like social well-being, health, education, environment, service, financial aid, etc., these institutions cherish the values like charity, brotherhood, and cooperation in our society. Now, let us learn about the governance and public administration during Maurya period. Action during the Maurya period. The capital of the powerful Maurya Empire was at Maurya Empire had spread in all the 4 directions in India. For the convenience of administration, the empire was divided into 4 regions. Each region had its own independent capital. Toshali was the capital of the eastern region. This place was located at the present-day Odisha. The capital of western region was Ujjaini. It was located in today's Madhya Pradesh. Suvarnagiri was the capital of the south region. It is located in the present-day Kanakgiri in Karnataka. The capital of north region was Takshashila. Now, this place is in Pakistan. There was a council of ministers to advise the king about the administration of the empire. Along with it, officers were appointed at different levels to run the administration. For example, Rajuk was the officer appointed at the district level. Gop was the officer at the taluka level, while Gramani was the head of the village. There was an efficient intelligence service which had the responsibility of keeping an eye on the administration as well as on the movements of enemies. Let us see how the life of the people was in such a politically strong Maurya Empire. Life of the people during Maurya period. The life of the Maurya period was mainly dependent on agriculture. Therefore, the agricultural production had an immense importance. However, along with agriculture, trade and other occupations also prospered. Different occupations like engraving on ivory, weaving and dyeing of clothes and metal work were also carried out. In addition to other metals, the technique of making articles of iron had been developed during the Maurya period. The black pottery having glaze were also produced. Also, shipbuilding was a major occupation. Along with trade and occupation, the people of Maurya period also gave importance to entertainment. Different festivals and functions were celebrated in towns and villages. Dance and music concerts were conducted for the entertainment of the people. The games like chariot racing, wrestling, were popular among the people of the Mauryan period. Chess, also called Ashtapad, and other board games were also played with interest. During this period, arts like sculpture and architecture also made great progress. Let us get some more information about the art and literature of Maurya period. Art and literature. The Mauryas gave generous patronage to art and literature. The art of rock-cut sculpture was promoted during the period of Emperor Ashoka. The pillars erected by Ashoka are excellent examples of Indian sculpture. The excellent carvings of lion, elephant and bull were sculpted on these pillars. Among these pillars, the Ashoka pillar at Sarnath is especially important. This pillar, which is an exceptional example of sculpture, has 4 lions on its sides. However, if the pillar is seen from the front, only 3 lions are visible. Below these lions, there is a horizontal strip and a wheel or chakra on it. On one side of this chakra is a horse, while on the other side is a bullock. Similarly, an elephant and a lion are carved on the other side of this pillar. The official seal of the Government of India is based on the pillar head of the Ashoka pillar at Sarnath. Similarly, the chakra on the Ashoka pillar is today shining on the Indian national flag. The caves of Barabar Hills, which were carved during Emperor Ashoka's period, are well known. These caves are located in the present-day Bihar. They are the most ancient of all the cave sculptures in India. Many art forms prospered during the Maurya period. Along with it, even well-known literature were created. During this period, along with Sanskrit, Prakrit languages like Pali and Ardhamagadhi were more prevalent. Ashtadhyayi by Panini and Chanakya's Arthashastra are the well-known works of this period. During the same period, the Buddhist work in Pali language, Tipitaka, also known as Tripitaka, was completed. The compositions in Tipitaka, which were created by women of Bauddha Sangh, are also known as Therigatha. The Jatak Katha, based on the life of Gautama Buddha, were also written during the Maurya period. The Maurya Empire began to decline after the death of Emperor Ashoka. After the period of Maurya Empire, many new states and empires emerged in India. The Maurya Empire was the largest empire in ancient India. Later, we'll learn about the political and cultural happenings which took place after Maurya period.